Before words come silence, and in that silence something ancient still waits, a habit forgotten in the age of constant noise. You've said something you regretted. Maybe it was to a friend, spoken too fast, too sharp. Maybe it was online, typed in seconds, felt for hours. Maybe it was in an argument where your need to be right outran your need to be wise. And afterward, you didn't feel powerful, you felt smaller. We've all done it, more than once. We speak too much. We scroll, we post, we reply faster than we think. We drown silence in commentary. We interrupt others to avoid hearing ourselves. We've confused noise with connection and reaction with strength. But what if the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all? The Stoics understood this long before the modern world made words so cheap. To them, silence wasn't avoidance. It was a form of power, a decision. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet journaled more than he spoke. Epictetus, once a slave, said the tongue must serve reason, not impulse. Seneca warned, speech is silver, silence when wise is gold. These weren't men of idle passivity. They fought wars, governed nations, endured exile, but they trained themselves to speak little and mean more, because every word we say is a choice, a ripple, a responsibility. Sometimes the most stoic response is no response at all, not because we have nothing to say, but because we've already said enough. This isn't a lesson in eloquence. It's a lesson in restraint, in patience, in listening. So let's begin, not with volume but with clarity, not with loudness but with stillness. Let's begin with the first Stoic rule of speech. Speak only what you'd be proud to repeat. Rule 1. Speak only when it improves the silence. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Epictetus. There's a kind of power that enters a room when someone chooses not to speak. Not the power of dominance, not the power of fear, but the power of restraint. We live in a world that rewards quickness, quick wit, quick replies, quick reactions. But the Stoics knew something else. That wisdom isn't fast, it's deliberate. Epictetus, a man who knew silence intimately, first as a slave, later as a teacher, understood that speech should be a tool, not a reflex. Words aren't meant to fill space. They're meant to serve clarity. And if they don't do that, then they're better left unsaid. When speech adds nothing, silence becomes the teacher. Think of the last meeting you were in. Someone probably spoke just to sound smart, or to be seen, or to push a point that didn't need pushing. Now think of the one person who didn't speak much, but when they did, you listened, because their silence gave their words weight. In 2008, during one of the most heated U.S. presidential debates, Barack Obama paused for a full 5 seconds before responding to a direct insult. The silence was heavy, and it changed the tone of the entire exchange. The room leaned in, not because of what he said, but because of what he withheld. In an age of constant output, restraint is rebellion. On social media, we feel pressure to respond instantly, to argue back, to clap back, to speak up on everything. But a Stoic asks, does this improve the silence? Does this elevate the conversation, or simply echo it? Marcus Aurelius could have written long decrees. He chose to write a journal instead. Seneca could have shouted in the Senate. He often chose letters. Epictetus reminded his students, the mouth should open only when the mind is ready. Practice the 5-second pause before your next reply. At work, in conversation, online, try this. Pause for 5 seconds. Ask yourself, is this helpful? Ask again, is this necessary? If the answer is no, let the silence speak instead. You'll be amazed what those 5 seconds reveal. Often, what you were about to say didn't need saying. This is not passivity, it's control. It's strength, not of the voice but of the mind behind it. The modern world is a loud room. Be the quiet presence that makes people lean in, not because you speak more, but because you speak less. And when you do speak, let it be like a bell in a temple, rare, intentional, and impossible to ignore. Rule 2. Say less, mean more. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca on simplicity of life and of speech. In a world that talks endlessly, the Stoic learns to speak briefly. Seneca believed that speech, like life, should be clear, purposeful, and above all, concise. The fewer the words, the deeper the meaning. But modern culture teaches the opposite. We talk to fill the air, to avoid awkward silence, to prove that we are present, relevant, informed. We mistake volume for value. Conversations become monologues. Advice turns into lectures. Encouragement into over-explanation. But the Stoic wonders, when I stop speaking, what remains? In truth, what lasts is never the volume, it's the depth. Depth doesn't require length. Think of the best advice you've ever received. Was it a long speech, or a single sentence that stuck with you for years? Think of the moments someone comforted you. Was it a torrent of words, or a quiet sentence, something simple like, I'm here? Meaning doesn't multiply with syllables. It sharpens when it's honed. It resonates when it's refined. In philosophy, some of the greatest insights are short. Know thyself. Memento mori. Let go of what you can't control. These are not paragraphs. They are principles. The Stoics didn't waste breath. They chose words like a sculptor chooses chisel strokes. So next time you give advice, comfort a friend, write an email, ask, could I say this in fewer words and say it better? Practice the one-sentence principle. Here's your challenge. Take a big idea you believe in, something important to you. Now say it in one sentence. Make it simple, clear, and true. Example, instead of, life is difficult and unpredictable, so we should always make the best of what we have while preparing for adversity. Try expect hardship, choose gratitude anyway. Saying less doesn't mean saying nothing. It means saying what matters and nothing more. The more you train this, the more power your words will hold. Because in a world addicted to noise, brevity isn't just a style, it's strength. Rule 3. Don't speak of others behind their backs. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. Marcus Aurelius. Gossip is cheap currency. And yet in every office, every cafe, every group chat, it's exchanged like gold. But the Stoics would have seen it for what it is, a tax on the soul. They taught that to speak of others behind their back isn't just impolite, it's unwise. Because every word we throw at others in secret quietly chips away at our own character. Marcus Aurelius wrote thousands of words, but not a single one tearing another person down. His meditations weren't critiques of others. They were reminders to himself. He didn't waste ink on slander. He spent it on self-mastery. Gossip says more about the speaker than the subject. It's easy to justify it. I'm just venting. It's true, though. I need to get this off my chest. But truth without compassion becomes cruelty. And sharing your emotions isn't an excuse for eroding someone else's dignity. More importantly, gossip reveals something deeper: insecurity. We talk about others when we're unsure of ourselves. We critique their decisions to feel better about our own. We highlight their failures to hide from our fears. But Stoicism demands more. If someone wrongs you, respond directly or let it go. If you don't respect someone, reflect, don't react. Because every moment spent judging someone else is a moment not spent improving yourself. When we gossip, we train the mind to look outward, not inward. We become spectators of others instead of students of ourselves. Practice. Audit your words. For one day, try this. Notice every time you're tempted to talk about someone who isn't present. Pause. Ask, what does this comment say about me? Instead of speaking, observe yourself. You'll start to notice a shift. Less judgment, more clarity, less projection. More ownership. Remember, Marcus wrote to himself, not about others, be like him. Write your life, don't rewrite others. Because true strength isn't found in criticizing others. It's found in correcting yourself. Rule 4. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Be silent as to services you have rendered, but speak of favors you have received. Seneca. Silence doesn't just hold space, it carries weight. In moments where others rush to justify, explain, or persuade, the Stoic remains still. Because they know, not all burdens should be lifted by words. Some truths are too sacred for speech. Some emotions too deep for dialogue. Some lessons too profound to be told, they must be lived. Silence is not absence, it's presence without pressure. It allows others to arrive at insight without interference. Words may convince, but silence transforms. Think of a friend going through grief. We often scramble to say the right thing, but what they need isn't a script. It's your quiet, grounded presence. Or in a debate, where others shout, a calm silence often disarms more than any argument. Or in love, sometimes the most intimate moment isn't a confession, it's a held gaze, a steady hand, an unspoken understanding. The Stoics knew this too. Marcus Aurelius didn't respond to every insult. He responded to life with character. Epictetus trained his students not in how to win arguments, but how to be unmoved by them. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Let it carry your dignity, your discipline, your clarity. Because when noise fails, silence still stands. Practice the silent companion. This week, try this. Be with someone, friend, partner, colleague, and resist the urge to fill every pause. Let silence enter the space. Notice how it shifts the energy, how it invites calm, awareness, and connection. You'll find that some of the most powerful conversations don't require many words. They require presence. And that, the Stoics believed, is what gives silence its voice. Rule 5. Choose precision over volume. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. Zeno of Citium. A sharp sword doesn't need to be long to be deadly. Likewise, your words don't need to be loud or many to be powerful. In the Stoic worldview, precision is more valuable than projection. What you say should be true, but also measured, not because you're timid, but because you respect the weight your voice carries. Every word has the power to shape perception, to heal or harm, to clarify or confuse. So why would we ever use more than we need? Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, was known for his measured speech. According to early sources, he would pause thoughtfully before responding to questions. His aim was not to appear clever, but to be clear. That's the Stoic aim, not to impress, but to express. Precision is a form of compassion. Think about a moment you misunderstood someone, not because they lied, but because they were unclear. Their message was drowned in clutter, their intention lost in excess. Now recall a moment when someone said something so precise, so well aimed, that it stayed with you for years. One sentence, one phrase, it wasn't loud, it was exact. In a noisy world, exactness is a gift. When giving feedback, the Stoic trims emotion and exaggeration and keeps the focus on facts. When offering comfort, they don't perform, they anchor. When disagreeing, they don't demolish, they define. Practice, edit before you speak. Try this exercise today. The next time you need to express something important, pause first. Say it once in your head. Now mentally cut that sentence by a third. Remove what's emotional fluff or repetition. Speak the refined version. This is not about sounding robotic. It's about sounding real. A precise word is a gift to the listener. It shows that you've done the work internally, so they don't have to do it externally by guessing what you meant. And over time, you'll find this. The more careful your speech, the more confident your presence. Because when you master your words, you master the impact they leave behind. Conclusion. Let silence be your signature. There is a kind of strength that doesn't roar, a kind that doesn't need applause, a kind that walks into the room and says nothing, yet shifts the entire energy. That's the power of disciplined speech. Through these 5 Stoic rules, we've seen how restraint isn't repression, it's refinement. When we speak less, we think more. When we think more, we hurt less. When we hurt less, we build better. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire and fought wars, also fought the war within. In his meditations, he never used his words to shame, blame, or boast. He used them to return to himself. That's what these rules ask of us, not to disappear into silence, but to return to speech with intention. So ask yourself before your next sentence, is this better than silence? Does it carry clarity, not just noise? Will it build, not just break? If the answer is no, let silence stand. Because in a chaotic world, your calm voice, your stillness, might be the most radical act of all. Let your silence be golden. Let your words be rare. Let your presence speak before your mouth ever does. That is the Stoic way.